Good day, everybody. This is the third in my current series of videos on why sometimes people have difficulty understanding a particular card, or perhaps a particular card freaks you out. And this time it's death. So first thing, death doesn't mean death. Okay. If you'd like to take a deeper look at this image, it's the Thoth Tarot, Thoth, by Alistair Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. Google the image, take a good look at it. It's a fascinating card. So it's the one that kind of gives people the most profound reaction, and it's probably the one that's most recognizable, thanks in no small part to some Hollywood films, I guess. I think Live and Let Die, one of the James Bond films in particular. But death really is about change, fundamental change. And for me, the image of the skeleton, death was once known as the leveler in the tarot. The leveler is this concept that really everyone is equal, something we would really do well to remember in any time, but in this time. And the idea is that the skeleton in the card represents the ideas or situations that you don't believe you can change and that are permanent. And nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. So in the Thoth version of this, what we're shown, I can't show you particularly well, that's why I say you Google the image if you can, but the strands here of the skeleton are being spun up away, okay, into the top left hand corner of the card. This side of the card is kind of deals with the spiritual side of things, or the world of energy. So here, what is material is being either let go of, or by some other mysterious force is being taken up. And what comes back is water. And water is tarot code for life force or spirit. So the essence of this card teaches us that if we don't let go of a belief or an action, then we almost close ourselves off. We almost experience a kind of death, a kind of spiritual or energetic death. And we all know people, or we've all known people that kind of do the same thing day in, day out. They have no sort of joy or interest in life, and they appear very flat and grey, and that's the kind of energy that the card is talking about. And as I've mentioned in the last two videos, every tarot card has got a lesson contained within it, a number of levels, because it is if nothing else, it's a profound tool of teaching, self-knowledge, understanding about the self. And this flow of energy is what keeps us going. It's what keeps us healthy. It's what keeps us vital and animated. And it's what allows our creative power to manifest. But those of you that have got tarot decks, and particularly Rider-Waite tarot decks, take a look at the knights. Okay, and the knights of discs and wands and swords and cups. And you'll note that the discs or pentacles and the swords, the princes are facing the same way as death, going back towards the energy, having been in the world. The Prince of Discs in the world, coming back. The Prince of Swords, the mind, in the world, coming back. And the cups and the wands are heading out. So this gives us a very interesting code, and one of the many hidden secrets in the tarot that, if you bothered to hang on this long into the video, I'm going to share with you now. The nature of physical action is returning. Okay, this is to do with yin and yang, folks. So it's a quick voyage into the world of Taoism. Whatever we do, think of a push, a simple push, or a throw, or any kind of work. We expend energy and then we have to return to recharge. Or if it's a push, if I keep on pushing, I'll fall over. So we've got yang going out, yin coming in. So the thought and the material actions of the princes, because princes are about action, they are shown coming back from their thought process or their physical activity. But the water life force is flowing from the energetic down into the material, along with the creative energy, which is constantly seeking to push out, if not just through manufacturing and maintaining your body, but also through your creative process. It's like this video. It is a creative process based on a flow of information, and it will go out. And the only time it will return to me is when people have looked at it and had a thought and left a comment. And then it comes back to me, but only the thought, like the Prince of Swords comes back with the thought. So actually within this card, because it shares a similar kind of energy with the princes in a way, it deals with your ability to believe or consider that you can change or not. So very often in life, we react because of things around us. Think about the current situation. Many of us have had to change the way that we operate, change the way that we work, change the way we live, because of we've had to react to a situation external from us. But one of the things tarot teaches right at the beginning of the disc cycle is the two of discs. Again, if you've got a Rider-Waite deck, it shows a kind of juggler throwing these discs in the air. If you look very closely in the background, there's a ship in real trouble on the sea. It's kind of like they shouldn't have gone out there. They should have changed their departure time. And it always makes me laugh, because a lot of people will go, yeah, well, this guy's just juggling while the whole world's coming to an end, but it's not. It's an indication of something very, very profound. So right at the start of the disc cycle, you've got this notion of change based on knowledge. I've got some inner knowledge and I'm now going to make some changes. So I'm no longer reacting to what's coming in. I'm being that catalyst for change as to what's coming out. So as we see in this card, this notion of permanence has been overcome and it's being returned. Just like the Knight of Discs is coming back, a bag full of booty or a load of physical experience. And whenever you allow that exchange, you get a reward. Always. Okay. Just think of some times in your life, or maybe in the lives of others, where you have made a decision to make a change. You go, you know what? And you don't even verbalize it. In your head, you make that decision, you give up something, and then as if by magic, without even lifting a finger, events around you begin to change to bring about that letting go of an idea or a belief. Isn't it odd? Isn't it odd? Everybody can relate to that, because it is a much more common experience. Imagine if you could make that experience kind of the way that you lived your life. So again, I go back to a quote that I read, and I've seen it in a couple of other places since, as often happens. And it's by Carl Jung. And again, to paraphrase it, I mentioned this in the Sun card. It says, the things that you see outside of you that you don't like are the things that you're not prepared to accept that's going on within you. And as I mentioned in the Sun card, there's a dual aspect to that, and we won't get too much into that. If you want to go and check that out, then the Sun card you can find up here somewhere. But our reaction to things is really important, because we're always going to have that reaction, because we live in a reactive physical awareness. We do. Part of our awareness is bound by the 3 or 4 dimensions that we can see and measure. So the way to deal with reaction is to realize it, have the reaction, and then go back to a baseline. But unless you know yourself, you can't know your baseline. So when we, as many people do now, they say, I don't watch the news. And they are shut off from the events of the world. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Because if something big happens, you'll find out about it real quick, you know. But the idea to shut yourself off can be a reaction to fear. And you can make a conscious decision not to fill your head with all those terrible images that we often see on the news. But you may then spend hours and hours watching conspiracy theory videos on YouTube, videos about how the world is going to end again. So what's worse? Because at least there's a fair degree of factuality in the news, whereas most of these conspiracy theories, quite frankly, are ludicrous. So have a reaction, but then come back to your baseline. How do you find your baseline? Well, one of the things you can do, using the kind of notion of letting things go, is kind of play with the notion that when you were first born into this physical reality as a baby, you had no idea about the world at large. No idea. And every single thing that you hold as a truth has been given to you until such time as you're able to independently learn something which sadly we don't teach in most of our Western cultures anymore. We don't teach how to independently learn. We teach facts, figures, dates, and records, which are great until you need to figure something out that doesn't fit in the box that textbook taught you. I've told this story before on here. I'll tell it again. This proves my point. Many years ago, I was a teacher at the secondary school or high school level. And I started off as a supply teacher, so I would cover absence. And it was a science class, triple science, because they no longer in this country teach physics and biology and chemistry as separate subjects. They're all lumped in together, which is ridiculous. So anyway, the tutor who was off sick had left a test paper for these young people to do. And they were like, we don't know the answers, sir. So we use your textbooks. And they're like, what? I said, okay, so you find question 1, right? And then you go to the index of your book and you find the chapter that most seems to fit question 1. And then you go and read it. And they're like, what? These are 13-year-old kids who have no clue how to use a textbook, right? That's what I'm talking about. So anyway, let go of that need to react constantly, you know. So we see something terrible and we react to it, obviously, maybe by turning it off or becoming angry or crying. And then have that reaction, because that's human, but then go back to your baseline. And the way you find that baseline is imagine you were as that child and you know nothing. So all you've got to rely on is your own reaction. So when a baby's hungry, it cries until it's fed. When a baby's tired, it cries. When a baby's, but gradually you can see the character of that young child develop as it learns more and more sophisticated channels of communication. So we get to a point in our lives where we're so burdened by what we've been taught or what we think we've been taught that we have to kind of go through this process of letting go in order to get back. Almost, you could say, to de-age yourself, maybe. The less we have to carry, the more upright we can become. So that's one of the many levels of the death card. Think of it not as death, but as change. It's always linked very much to Scorpio, astrologically. And I made a video a few weeks ago called If You Think You're a Scorpio, You're Probably Not. And that's because I use a real-time astrology where the planets are in very different positions, where they're exactly where they're supposed to be in the sky. But Western astrology still uses dates and positions that were relevant many thousands of years ago. Both methods seem to work okay, so not a problem. But I just think when faced with the argument of, well, astrology is a load of rubbish because the planets aren't even where you say they are, I think you should at least be able to point to Mars and say, there is Mars in its particular constellation. At the moment, leaving Pisces, going into Aries, which is good because Mars in Aries is good. We might get some speeding up of things for a while. We might also get a little bit more aggravation in the world for a while. But we kind of know, if you watch the news, then you'll know that's coming anyway, right? Nothing to worry about, But this is a more kind of, I suppose, reflective look at the change card. Why is it attached to Scorpio? Well, I guess the idea, and even in this image, you can see the dance as the watercolor. I don't know if you can see it very well, actually. You'll have to trust me. There's Pisces, the fish here, but down there's a scorpion. Well, it just deals with the different levels. Every element has got 3 octaves in tarot and astrology. It's like the decans in astrology. So Scorpio is said to be the lowest vibration of the water element, or the lowest, if you like, the lowest incarnation of the lowest expression of spirit. And when I use the word spirit, I'm not talking about Auntie Mabel that died 100 years ago and rattles your alarm clock on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm talking about this life force, the vital energy that actually animates everything. So what are the differences then? Well, Cancer is the middle and Pisces is the highest. What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, in simple terms, it means that, and if you think about Scorpios, and if you know a Scorpio, they're probably a Libra. So this would bring us into a whole contentious other series of videos about what you are actually as a sign, what your traits actually are. And therefore, most Sagittarians are actually Scorpios. So it brings a whole different kind of light and filter onto people's behavior. And when people have realized what their real-time sign is, as opposed to their Western sun sign, they're like, that makes a lot of sense. So for many years, for instance, I was a Pisces, and I was always kind of, well, it's cool to be a Pisces, because fish, isn't it? But it never really fit. And then I'm an Aquarius and it fits. Yeah. I get really, really irritable when I'm tired. That's one of the great Aquarian traits, right? No sleep gets miserable. Don't wake an Aquarian up before they've had their allotted amount of time. You won't get a very good reception. But anyway, why Scorpio? Well, if you think about Scorpio, okay, Scorpio is very open, very kind of in your face, very black and white, quite physical, quite sexual, often not that great at keeping themselves out of trouble. So it's the kind of lowest manifestation of that spiritual energy. in you know, getting involved in the grime and the dirt, getting your hands dirty, you know, very much about the physical, almost hedonistic nature of life. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all, right? We've only been taught that those things are wrong. And that's where Scorpios run into trouble. Because everybody looks at a Scorpio and says, well, you know, judgment, judgment, judgment. Just have the reaction, come back to center, okay? Even in that book, you know, that big, thick book that most everybody's got lying around somewhere with that guy Jesus in it, you know, the Jedi. And it says, to enter the kingdom of heaven, which is just a code for getting into the place where you can be most creative or happy, to become like a child. Go back to the time before your parents screwed you up. Go back to the time when you believed the games you played, but you also knew they were games. This is the real secret. So if you keep on watching and you've stuck with me, then this is another secret. Play and believe it, but when the game is over, let it go. There was about 10 years ago, maybe more, I don't know, law of attraction, big deal, loads of books, attracting money for the people that wrote the books. Love it. But all you've got to do to become super creative, super whatever you want to be, pretend. Before, tend, care. Care for it, love it, nurture it before you get it out there. People go, oh, I've worked so hard, man. You know, like I've worked so hard and I don't get anywhere. Think about the Prince of Discs. He's coming back, having done his work. The only way you're going to get out there is use your life force, water, cups, and your creative energy, sacral energy. Those are the two princes that are heading out into the material realm. Before you know how to do that, you've got to know what you need. Not what you think you want. I want a Ferrari. Do you? I want to win the lottery. Do you? Are you comfortable now? Well, yeah, I guess I am. So what is it then that you, well, you know, they've got a better car than me. They've got a bigger, it's just reaction, isn't it? React to it, then come back to baseline. I'm actually very comfortable now. But the minute you figure out what you need, again, almost as if by magic, just like when you change that one thought in there and suddenly the world seemed to change for you. The minute you discover what you need, you generally know you'll notice you've got it, or it turns up. It's really boring. It's not boring, it's amazing, but you know, it's that easy when you figure it out. And most of us spend all this time chasing something we think we want, never getting anywhere. Let it all go. Let it go. Allow change. There you go. That's the death card, the change card. I hope this has given you some food for thought. I hope you stay till the end, because a lot of people don't. They get bored, see, because there's no special effects, no whizzy graphics. You know, if you want whizzy graphics and special effects, go watch a movie. If you want some relatively intelligent food for thought, you know, there are other people like me around, but yeah. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for hanging out with me. I've enjoyed it. Hope you have. If there's a card that freaks you out or you don't understand, write it in the comments below and I'll make you a video, because you can bet your life if you're struggling with it, other people are too. Anyway, I'll think of another card that gives people some strife in a day or two, and I'll come back with some more of this. Take care.